Hello foodies, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing a review of a recent dinner I had at Missing Chopsticks, which is a new restaurant just opened in Richmond. It's located at 130-13880 Wireless Way in Richmond. It's only open for dinner on Thursdays to Sundays. And it does what we call Si Fong Choi, which is kind of a specialized garage type eating style in Hong Kong. The chef comes from Hong Kong, Edward Cheng, and he's worked at some Michelin starred restaurants like Nathalie Jean Robichon and Spoon. And so this concept of kind of a home kind of cooking is a concept that a lot of Chinese people are familiar with. And you know how some restaurants in town, they like to go to edgier parts of town. For the Chinese restaurants, they like to go in places that are kind of weird. And this is in the middle of kind of a business district in an industrial park. And so this is kind of like you don't expect a restaurant there. And so that's kind of, you get in there and it's almost like a home style cooking, something that you would kind of have at home or you kind of feel at home at. So that's kind of what Si Fong Choi is. And so it's kind of very unique. People in Hong Kong are fairly familiar with this concept, but it's kind of a cute play on this home style and having something a little bit different in somewhere that you would not think there would be a restaurant in there. So we were seated in their upstairs area. This is their private dining area. Again, it looks like your own home, kind of what you would have at home. And this is Edward and his staff. It's just a home style kitchen. We got the tasting menu. At that time, they had a spot prawn special menu for $198. They no longer have that, so their regular menu, it changes probably every 6 to 8 weeks, and it's about $138. But same kind of prospect. It is a price fixed menu with about 6 or 8 courses, and it's got French, Chinese kind of fusion. So the first course is called Wine and Dine, which is spot prawn tartare with Shaoxing wine and fermented chili. I actually didn't taste the Shaoxing wine at all, but the chili was very lightly spicy, but the prawns were very fresh and the plating was beautiful, and I actually had the benefit of seeing them plate this in the kitchen, and it was meticulous. They were spending a lot of time on the plating, so I thought it was a great dish and it looked wonderful. They had also brought in some crackers with the dish. I actually didn't think it added that much to the dish. The prawns themselves was spectacular, but just a little added touch, I guess. Next dish was called morel, which is, I guess, morel mushrooms with asparagus and spot prawns. Again, tasty dish. Everything was based on prawns, spot prawns. So if you're not a seafood person, this menu would not be right for you. But their regular menu, which is I think $138, is much more varied with the normal, some seafood, some meat, and things like that. Next dish is called bisque. It's lobster plus pan-seared spot prawn, and then you'll see a little tempura of the head. So that was just a video of this, and you'll see very thick, very intense flavor of lobster and spot prawns. And then you'll see on the next photo, you'll see the tempura style, the heads. So I use that kind of like bread that I would use normally with bread and dipped it into the bisque, and it was wonderful. So I thought this was a very successful dish. Next dish was ravioli, which is spot prawns and butter sauce. I'm not sure I really like the spot prawn and ravioli mix, but it was done well, and no dish here was not enjoyable. I enjoyed everything I had. So I thought it was well done. Presentation was nice. Some I thought were better than others in terms of my personal preference, but I thought for me, this dish, it was a good dish, but I just didn't like the pairing of the ravioli and the spot prawn personally. Next dish is duck and prawn with taro, pine nut, and peach. Didn't get bothered by the taro. It wasn't overly pungent. I liked the peach part of that, so that the sweetness was nice. Thought the duck was cooked very nicely, not overcooked. So I like the dish. For dessert, this is really a East meets West type dessert. It's custard, which is bird's nest with grapes and ginger. And for those people who have never eaten bird's nest, it is a Chinese delicacy. So basically, bird's nest is made out of the nest of a swiftlet bird, and it's formed with the bird's saliva. So it sounds a little bit gross, but actually it is actually a delicacy, and it is sometimes called the caviar of the East. It is very rare and valuable, and there is properties. The Chinese believe it improves immune function, increases mental focus, helps with digestion. It's more for texture. There's very little taste to it, but the texture is very smooth and almost like egg yolks, that type of smoothness. So this dessert is a very delicate dessert. It's not very subtle, so you have to kind of treat it that way. I liked it, but it does, for those who are not used to very subtle Chinese type desserts, you might think it's kind of bland. All in all, I really enjoyed the meal. I think Chef Edward is a young guy who's got a lot of ambition. Really nice guy. I met him. Very humble guy. But I think his food speaks loudly, and it's really nice to see another high-end restaurant in Richmond. So I would recommend this restaurant. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Until next time, happy eating.